A YouTuber wants to go exploring at an old abandoned school on the edge of the town in Searsboro, Iowa, a place rumored to be haunted and made even scarier by some nearby creepy woods. The school was shut down 2 times and nobody really knows why, or at least the local townsfolk don't want to say. The inside is trashed and has no power, and yet their equipment makes a low rumble from an electronic disturbance coming from this stairway. Notice how the sound goes away as soon as they turn away from the steps.
Do we even want to try and go with that?
I mean, yeah,
Or should we go this way?
Let's just explore that area.
Should we go across the catwalk or this way?
Something paranormal is definitely up there. A strange feeling keeps them all away. In the next room, this rope moves by itself and then a bucket quickly follows. A second rope gets pulled and it's hard to say if all of this is a ghost or one of them off camera. On their way out of the abandoned property, they find this creepy secret room. Why a school would have a hidden room is beyond me, and also beyond creepy. Keeping a student down there would definitely get your school shut down. They find another small room hidden away and decide to go in. Inside is a message that says something bad happened in this secret room. It's an old worn message written long ago, not by them but perhaps a former student. A creepy noise ends the exploration as fast as it began, and when they look back at the abandoned building, they see what could be a pale ghost in the window. If you're afraid of heights, you'd better close your eyes for this one. The sky pool at the Market Square Tower in Houston, Texas is leaving nothing to the imagination. At 500 feet above the ground, the pool offers terrifying below-foot views of the busy roadway 500 feet down. The sky pool has a glass bottom, allowing swimmers to see what it feels like to be a flying fish, as the video, uploaded by NYC Yank in Texas in January of this year shows. When you swim out towards the edge of the infinity pool, you're walking on air, 42 floors above street level. One of the developers told the publication Paper City, "We thought it would be an attention grabber, and it has been. Hopefully it doesn't grab swimmers' attention too much. Wouldn't want them swimming over the edge, 42 floors up. Someone is watching you." Published by Paranormal Voyages in January of 2022. This paranormal crew is not just paranoid. As they're tuning into the spirits and or demons of this place, one of the crew sees something pop up outside through the window.
There's something outside.
Here.
Later, as she's wearing headphones to listen in to what the spirits have to say, she feels someone, and then that someone speaks.
Who are you? What are you?
Whoa, move her chair, it said, in a deep man's voice.
Let's see you move the chair.
After the demon says to touch her and make her cry, the crew urges the demon to leave.
Make her cry, it said.
No, you cannot make her cry. You're gonna have to leave. You can't do anything negative.
The woman looks very shaken up, and she says she felt weird vibes. Are these the vibes of a demon? More than likely. Posted to the Chills Narrator subreddit by Sallow Mac and originally published to YouTube by Bike Jin in March of 2020. This paranormal investigator may have just crossed paths with something very nefarious. While exploring an abandoned house, the investigator spies this creepy witchy woman in the hallway. Flames suddenly spark, running down the length of the hallway and flying up into the air in the adjacent room. It then falls in a giant blaze to the floor, burning in a ball on the carpet. For a time, the investigator watches the flames burn. It burns low, but then it bursts again, while the door behind it swings closed and then opens repeatedly. Is this a jinn's doing? Or maybe a witch's? Either way, get the heck out of there. Oftentimes, creepy things happen when you least expect it, but it's a rarity when you capture that moment on video. In this video's description, the uploader Junked Up Kitten notes that the footage was simply meant to be the crew fooling around, but instead they captured footage in the old county jail that once you see it, you can't unsee it. The uploader explains that the building manager of this defunct jail was friends of his father, so he let the boys film for nearly 6 hours. The group just wanted to fool around in there. They never imagined they'd catch anything spooky, and that's when things got real. We had no intention of actually looking for ghosts. We were just being dumb kids, the uploader writes. However, when we were editing our spoof, we found this face in the window. Only the 3 boys, the uploader and his 2 friends were on site when the footage was captured. His friends were sitting at the booking desk, while the uploader is in frame, oblivious to the man's face behind him, with a mouth wide open as though it's yelling. The spooky image appears to be in a holding cell window, holding cells that were locked at the time, as they were used for storage. When the boy's face crosses the window's path, the screaming image slowly vanishes. Could it be a man now secretly living in the building? Maybe, or possibly some psycho spirit haunting his former holding cell. Nothing will make you want to skip work more than this next video. Published by Real Ghost in September of 2015, this ghost was captured in an office one night. The video shows a darkened room. As the camera pans around, a semi-transparent robed figure appears in a window to the kitchen. When the camera quickly pans back, the figure is no longer there. Are we dealing with an office ghost straight from Tales of the Crypt? He's definitely not here to do some light paperwork. A ghost boy, known as a Pukong in Indonesian, was captured on film in this cemetery. Posted by Antarija, a cameraman is wandering a cemetery at night when he turns to spot this figure. The figure is standing wrapped like a mummy. The distorted face is barely discernible, and the cameraman quickly turns and flees into the darkness. He keeps turning back, and somehow the figure is closer and closer. Its horrifying face is what nightmares are made of. It's not clear if the thing is chasing him, but it does seem to be on his tail. Did he make it out alive? Or are one of these graves for him? Let's hope not. A YouTuber named Ola Bible lives in the middle of the forest in Oregon, far away from civilization. So when he hears noises outside of his house late at night, he curiously pokes around his backyard with a camera to find the source. It isn't long before he comes across an object that looks out of place. It looks like it could just be a rock or something, but he's memorized this area well enough to know it's foreign in nature. He zooms in.
The heck is that?
Then he says something out loud to himself and draws unwanted attention. A thin humanoid creature cranes its impossibly long neck in his direction. Look closely and you'll even see a surprised expression on its face, almost as if it's been caught doing something secretive. I can't tell if it's feasting on an animal, or maybe even burying something in the ground. He spins around and runs away before we get a chance to figure out what it's doing for sure. I guess the video could just be special effects, but I can't tell for certain. Maybe a follow-up video taken during the day would give us more conclusive evidence. Ring doorbells have captured plenty of disturbing things, but perhaps this is one of the most disturbing. Posted in October of 2019, a frantic woman was caught on a neighbor's Ring doorbell seeking help in Arcadia, California. The doorbell caught the woman's subsequent taker on video. The culprit was the woman's estranged boyfriend, who was seen pulling the woman down the street around midnight. The woman first pounds on her neighbor's door, shouting for help. When the man comes to pull her away, he grabs her by the hand and the woman screams as she falls to the ground before he pulls her out of view. The footage was sent to the police by the neighbor, who was on vacation at the time. After a search of the neighborhood, the woman was discovered being held against her will. The suspect in question was charged for his actions, with his bail set at $1 million. Here's hoping this footage serves as evidence in the charges against this monster, and he gets what he deserves. If you saw this on your home security camera, what would you think? According to Johnny Smither333, who posted the video to the Ghosts subreddit, the strange capture came from his living room's motion detection camera. Whatever this flash is had enough presence to set off the camera, but it's unclear what that blur might be. While many in the comments say it's a bug, others like SPM Wiggy offers more creative suggestions. She writes, "It's a tiny witch on a matchstick. Clearly you can see the hat and the giant witch nose." Another Redditor suggests that it could be gremlins. The Redditor says that in slow motion, it looks like it appeared out of thin air. He also notes that as soon as it gets closer to the camera, it doesn't look like any bug he's seen. Have you seen a bug that looks like this? I know that's likely the culprit in cases of videos like this, but I definitely agree I've never seen a bug that looks like this before. Therefore, there is at least a reasonable chance this is truly paranormal. Paranormal explorers Moxley of Moxley's Crazy Adventures and Dan of Nighthawk Exploring team up to explore an abandoned house so haunted that only two well-versed paranormal investigators such as themselves could ever hope to stand a chance against it. Known only as the Invisible House, the haunted place in the UK is host to ghastly figures and ghostly apparitions that will make your skin crawl as they reach out and brush by. While exploring the second floor, they pass by a small statue kneeling in prayer. The way it faces into the room makes me think it was left there to protect against something inside, a paranormal presence that doesn't want them in there exploring the abandoned house at all. Somewhere nearby, a door closes all by itself, and when you slow down the video at 6 minutes and 4 seconds, there is a half-concealed outline of a pale ghost face in the window. Not knowing that they've already caught a ghost sighting on tape, they break out the K2 meter to get supernatural consent for their paranormal investigation to continue.
Are you okay with myself and Moxley being here? Can you take it to the yellow or orange? Would you be okay if myself and Moxley used the spirit box in here?
Give it a go.
Give it a go.
Thank you for that.
Thank you for that.
A chill passes over them, and just like the legends say, the ghost hunters hear and feel a presence brush by them both. They turn around to find this heavy cabinet door, which was open when they first came in, is now closed. They open and close the cabinet to see how heavy it is, and conclude that it is too heavy to close on its own from a gentle breeze. And get this, every time they touch the cabinet door, a ghost orb angrily flies overhead. It happens 3 times and it's quite creepy. What would you do if the downstairs lights of a supposedly empty building next door kept turning on and off? Redditor JC1 posted this video to r/ghosts, writing, "The model apartment next door to mine has a 10-minute timer on all the lights, so every time the front door is open, the lights automatically turn on. When I showed the video to the maintenance man, they said they got chills and had to go buy some salt and candles." This video shows the lights switching on and off of their own accord. Well, not altogether unexplainable, it is unnerving. Some in the comments of this video suggested faulty wiring or a bad sensor. A union electrician says this is pretty common in model houses, as they're not built well. Others get scared by something moving, which turns out to be a tree branch. But the question remains, what if someone or something is opening the front door? The maintenance men are right, it's time for some salt and candles. What you don't know can't panic you, right? Posted to Reddit, the uploader, Jason Green 3 explains in the comments, on April 25th, 2013, at about 9:20 p.m. local time, an unknown object at low altitude flew directly across the Rafael Hernandez Airport runway in Aguadilla, Puerto Rico, causing a delayed departure of a commercial aircraft. Green continues on, explaining that this infrared video on the thermal imaging systems of the CPB DHC-8 aircraft was captured by US authorities. This video is reportedly obtained legitimately by an anonymous source. According to their information, the object, between 3 to 5 feet wide, was flying around various speeds between 40 and 120 miles per hour with an 80 mile per hour median speed. When it entered the water, its speed did not slow down or demonstrate obvious impact, traveling at a similar average speed as it had in the air. Upon entering the ocean, the object spilt, re-emerged for an instant, and then both pieces traveled at the same speed. The Redditor writes that there's no known origin for this object, and no clue as to what might travel at these speeds through air and water. At least one Redditor suggests it's a weather balloon, while most others accept that this is an unidentified flying device. What do you think this could be, and are you panicked? An urban exploration channel called Urbex with Taffy goes investigating an underground bunker when they start to feel incredibly watched for no reason at all. They pause at the entrance to a dark room and, night vision rolling, call out to any haunting the tunnels with them.
Okay, alright, so, is there anyone in here with us? Will you make a sound? Just make a noise.
In the doorway is a shadow person who is not Taffy nor his friend, Carl. As you can see both of their shadows. It's weird that a third shadow appears as soon as they ask for a sign, but this wouldn't be too hard to fake with a third person's help. The question is whether or not it was really the two of them down there in the creepy haunted tunnel. And that's something only Carl and Taffy will know for sure. This video features an exorcism in action as the man wails demon-like in the background. A Russian Orthodox priest places a holy book under his head and reads the ritualistic prayers or blessing while patting the possessed man on the chest. The man jerks and squawks, baring his teeth. As the priest continues his duty without flinching, he begins to shake his head back and forth, pale as a ghost, a blank expression on his face, and then he is still. The priest lifts his head into view of the camera as he continues to perform the exorcism, pressing something to the man's forehead. The man's eyes are rolled into the back of his head, leaving only the whites of his eyes in view, a very disturbing image. He then closes his eyes and later whispers something to the priest. The footage ends shortly thereafter, and it's unclear if the exorcism was successful or not. But if you didn't believe in demonic possession before, after watching this video, you might just find yourself a believer. This video shows evidence of the terrifying unknown, as strange lights were captured in the Tokyo sky on June 26, 2020. Some suggest the lights are not those of unidentified flying devices, but rather of Starlink, SpaceX's satellite constellation, which is being built with the aim to provide nearly worldwide internet access by 2022. These low Earth orbit satellites are mass-produced and work with ground transceivers. Could that be nothing but a project by Elon Musk? Others suggest it's simply air traffic approaching the airport. Redditor Bacon for Life writes, while it is spooky when there's a bit of a traffic jam to come into the airport, aircraft turn their landing lights on quite high and far out so that it's easy for the tower to identify each of them. Still a good spooky video though. Do you agree with these assertions? Or is this just another thing they don't want us to see? Up a long forest mountain path is an abandoned house near the Chinese city of Chengdu that is said to be haunted. An explorer named the Sneezing Monkey travels to the fabled house to see if anything paranormal is there. There's not much left inside, but he does find an old book that he seems particularly interested in. At 2 minutes and 6 seconds, it almost looks like it gets slapped out of his hands by a possible ghost, but he could have dropped it too. Tell me what these pages say. For some reason, he seems to feel it's interesting enough to show the camera. Not much else happens, and just when I was doubting this house was haunted, I hear this. He's looking at some kind of fire pit or something and hears a noise. He looks up and hears it again coming from the attic. He doesn't stick around for long and wisely decides to leave. A YouTuber named CTV911 is on his way to see the new Star Wars movie when the crowded mall elevator abruptly stops, leaving him stuck with other worried passengers. I can't exactly tell for sure, but I think one of them might be trying to force the doors open here, maybe to get more air into the elevator. Watch this part and let me know what you think they are trying to tell him not to do.
Hey, anybody up there? It's getting unbearably hot in here.
Have you tried the phone again to let them know someone's going down?
I could only imagine what would have happened if he had managed to actually get the doors open. After about 9 minutes, one of the passengers breaks down and has a full-blown panic attack.
You don't have a medicine at all?
It isn't until 40 minutes later that help finally arrives. Firefighters can't get the doors open, so they have to bust in through the top of the elevator. Their welcome entrance nonetheless sends shrapnel down on the waiting crowd.
Watch your eyes, guys. There's screws everywhere, too.
I'm still going up.
Hey, can I have it?
Yeah, you can have it. We don't want it.
Hey, we're trying to help.
They somehow squeeze a ladder into the elevator and send everyone up one by one. The YouTuber misses his movie but is glad he no longer has to spend another moment stuck in that cramped space. It's a dreary and overcast day when a YouTuber named Sharby straps a GoPro on his head and heads into an abandoned graveyard with his friends. This eerie graveyard is surrounded by woods and is in the middle of nowhere, as Sharby puts it, and they are hoping to find some adventure. They are checking out old headstones and goofing off when a frightening discovery suddenly changes the mood.
What? Is that a knife, dude?
It appears to be a rusty old crowbar that was perhaps used to dig up graves. Both Sharby and his friend instantly get a bad feeling, and Sharby throws it to the ground, suddenly wanting nothing to do with the ancient object. They keep exploring and eventually come across a grave from 1811. The unshakable feeling of dread just won't go away, and suddenly it begins to snow, which is very odd weather for October. Not too far away, they discovered a battered doll and get seriously freaked out by its mere presence.
Okay, yo, let's get the f out of here, man. Yeah, no, okay, that's it.
Some branches snap in the nearby woods, and they quickly flee before they can find out what was near them. This video of the Ishima Hoyashi Bridge in Japan looks like one of the scariest places in the world to drive over, and has the internet freaking out. It resembles a terrifying roller coaster more than a bridge, but I found a video of someone going over it, and while the ride is creepy, it's probably not as bad as you thought. I just wanted to show what going over this bridge is really like, since the video went viral not too long ago. The reason why the bridge is built like this is to give extra room for boats to go under. It makes sense, but doesn't really make it any less scary, especially if you already have a fear of bridges to begin with. Jay Duncan is at home with his wife and daughter when he looks out his door and sees a total stranger in rough shape. The man is having a fast-paced conversation with no one but himself, and he can't hold still for a single second.
He's just out there, man. He just won't go away.
When he finally notices Jay a full minute later, his first move is to immediately try the door. I can only imagine what this intruder would have done next had he gotten inside. Instead, he throws his hands up in exasperation, as if they have no right to keep their front door locked. He barks a series of threats and demands to be let in. I think he basically says he's through playing games with them, whatever that means. They snicker at him through the door until he gives up and gets into a relatively upscale truck to leave. Obviously, if he has a truck, then he also has a warm place to stay, which makes me wonder why he wanted to get into Jay Duncan's home to begin with. I think that maybe this person might have been out of their minds and thought they were outside of their own home. If so, I really hope they don't come back when Jay Duncan is asleep at night and try the same again. Midlothian, Scotland is no stranger to witches. Salem was bizarre enough, but the Great Scottish Witch Hunt was on a whole other level. This drone video sure seems to suggest that witches continue to walk among us, or at least they walk in quiet fields within our vicinity. That's what this alleged witch was doing when captured on video by a drone. The woman dressed in a red skirt, black top, and with long, lanky, black, maybe gray hair, is first seen standing quite still in the field. The video then shows her turning around, swaying slightly, her face quite pale. She seems to be dancing or performing some ritual as she raises her hands in the air and then places a foot forward. Is this a real-life witch? If not, what in the world is she doing? A man is in a Mexican graveyard at 1:28 in the morning to see if a local legend about a crying girl is true. He has been waiting around for a while and is about to leave when suddenly he hears someone sobbing and sees a girl kneeling in the distance. He calls out to see if she is okay.
Amiga. Niña. Ay, no seas imbécil.
I think it's strange that he would go to the graveyard all by himself, but then again, he probably didn't think anything would really happen, or maybe he couldn't find anyone brave enough to go with him. Either way, if he had more witnesses or a better camera, then I would be more inclined to believe this video was legit. This ghost has had a few too many. Posted to the Ghosts subreddit by Best of Us, here is yet another haunted bar whose resident ghosts' sauced up antics were caught on camera. Watch the bottles to the left of the bar. One bottle on the second shelf starts to nudge toward the edge. While a wet surface sometimes has that effect on items placed on that surface, it usually doesn't lead to this. After inching slowly toward the ledge, the bottle takes a sudden jarring leap, knocking a second bottle below it off the display. This doesn't seem like a natural progression. Rather, it seems like the bottle was yanked from the ledge by some unseen entity. Many in the comments relate their own stories of haunted bars, with Redditor Your Dumb Idiot chiming in. I used to work at a bar that was haunted. Always the same bottle thrown off the shelf in the morning despite me moving it to prove it wasn't a ghost. Well, many, including myself, wonder what these bar ghosts could possibly want from us by throwing bottles around. Redditor Tech Impaired has one theory. He writes, they just wanted some booze. I see what they did there. Linfamous TV goes ghost hunting in the woods of Long Island, and they say this place is truly haunted. They are expecting the ghost sighting of a lifetime, and what they've caught on camera does not let them down.
Yeah.
Oh, what the f was that?
They aren't sure what they heard, and so they press forward despite feeling scared early on. The deeper they go, the more haunted things start to look and feel.
Over here, it looks like it's something from a horror movie.
Right. These woods right here are really spooky.
Something is wrong with this part of the woods. They can feel it, but being ghost hunters means doing creepy stuff all the time, and so they go down this path against better judgment.
Got a cold spot.
Completely blocking out the sky.
I thought it was her friend, but it's not. At 5 minutes and 58 seconds, Lynn's friend is to the right. He is still to the right at 6 minutes when Lynn looks left and then up at the trees. When she brings the camera down, a ghost is there. There is a ghost on the left. Her friend, meanwhile, is still standing to her opposite side as they try to consult her GPS system and get weird interference.
Where in
Well, on the map, what does it take us to? Does it look like it ends?
I'm sure. like in Hauntington or something. Like let's see. What?
Their GPS loudly messes up and takes them in a wide loop for almost 3 hours before it straightens out. Weird how their equipment does this the same minute they have this paranormal encounter. Oh, and one last thing. Lynn's friend is wearing a baseball hat. This ghost looking straight at them does not. Therefore, I have a strange feeling that this ghost sighting video could be real. A YouTuber named Shannon Griffin recorded this short scene as part of an amateur film he was working on. One of his friends, Rachel, goes into the alley and the scene ends. It seems simple enough, but look at the bottom left for a weird surprise. The swaying shadow is not supposed to be part of the shot. Later, when Shannon was editing the footage, he was terrified by the strange discovery because nobody was standing off camera there. It's not a tree in the wind because these plants in the foreground don't move at all, while this shadow figure sways wildly. The only explanation I have, assuming that they are telling the truth to begin with, is maybe some nosy neighbor was watching them from a window and cast their shadow on the sidewalk below, but the way the shadow moves is so odd that I don't think this is it at all, so maybe it was paranormal. An encounter with a lady in white might seem harmless, but this one is 100% impure. This scary video was originally published by Exploring with Danny. As Danny is exploring a wooded area, he remarks that he saw something that has completely vanished.
And the last time I was here, there was a demon here. I was faced with a demon. And this is the location right here. Now I am going to show you.
He shouts into the darkness, and that's when you see that something has not completely vanished at all. A black-haired figure with a pale face lurks just out of sight. When Danny zooms in, you can see that the female figure is making its way toward him out of the mouth of a tunnel.
Hello? It's right there. Hello? Are you okay? Hello?
The figure climbs out of the darkness, her dirty white dress getting dirtier, while Danny commands her to stay back. She doesn't listen.
In the name of Jesus, I command you to stay back, right now. Stay right back.
Danny turns around to make a run for it, but the figure continues to stalk him, climbing up a hill and creeping toward him.
Stay back! I'm warning you! Jesus, I command you to stay away!
What is this evil, and what does she want with Danny? He'd better escape before she pulls him back down into her lair.
What the
If you think you're safe in your own home, think again. Posted by Call Me Ace here to the Chills Narrator subreddit, the Redditor explains, this is a video of a random guy walking up to my brother's home in Houston, Texas. The stranger flashed their flashlight through my brother's front door window and camera. The video shows a man possibly casing the place. If that is what he's doing, he isn't taking many precautions, as he's not wearing a mask of any kind to hide his identity, nor does he take any notice at first of the security camera that's caught him red-handed. If he was trying to fly under the radar, he's doing a terrible job at it. Not only does he flash a flashlight directly into the potential target's home, but he looks squarely into the security camera, capturing his headshot straight on, right before shining the flashlight into the camera's face too. Redditor Stark Burrito asks, was he pointing the flashlight into the camera to obscure himself? Bit late, buddy. Other Redditors recommended that the homeowner alert other neighbors to the incident, as well as the neighborhood watch and local authorities. It might prevent the unknown person from taking this further. While you may not have to worry about those you know entering into your home, you should definitely worry about randos. A highway patrol building in Truckee, California was unprepared for one of the scariest moments ever caught on CCTV, a surprise bear inspection. The animal gets up to look inside and pushes down on the extra large doorknob. It looks like an act of sheer luck, but then it knows to pull the door towards itself to get inside, which is just creepy beyond belief. You can see from its reflection of the window that this bear gets pretty far into the station. Approximately 29 seconds pass before it's spotted and chased. The curious critter nudges open the door to get away from 2 officers, and there really isn't much they can do except clear the parking lot and probably call wildlife authorities. The way this bear can open doors so easily seems well practiced and makes me wonder how many different human houses it's visited. Hopefully they catch it soon and relocate it someplace far away. This popular chain restaurant in a children's hospital is said to be haunted, and I need your help to tell if this is real or not. A small transparent girl runs by, but something is a little off about the video, and it looks like it might be photoshopped. If any video editing experts can tell me if this ghost sighting is fake or real, I could definitely use your help. Jake Atafi is in his living room when someone pulls open the screen door really slowly and just lets it shut. No follow-up knock, no footsteps walking away, nothing. Even his dog is wondering what the deal is. Jake stops recording to check and claims no one was outside. It's creepy, but it's too bad he didn't record out of his window to prove that his house is as haunted as he says it is. A remote shanty house in the middle of nowhere. It's gotta be abandoned, right? Posted to r/ghosts by Livid Excuse 1640. This video reminds every paranormal explorer to be always on their guard. The Redditor is driving down a dirt road at night in what appears to be the boonies with no lights around apart from a faint, distant glow. And yet in the middle of nowhere they come upon a rundown white house. It's dark and clearly abandoned, or so you think, as the Redditor drives slowly past, shining a flashlight onto the house. He spotlights its empty and broken windows, nothing else, that is, until he zooms in on a center window. Here appears a white hooded figure without discernible features. The realization of what they're seeing scares them enough to drop their camera and drive away. While many Redditors in the comments believe the figure is a squatter rather than a ghost, this sighting at an assumedly abandoned house would be unsettling regardless. The Redditor writes in the comments, "I've been in the house once and it's like the people living there just up and left clothes in closets, dishes in the sink, toys on the floor. It was wild. I got halfway down the hallway and something that felt like pure evil came over me and I ran back out." He also shares some still photos with varying exposures that he took from the clip. What do you see in the Rorschach ink blot? This is only a test. This one is The Thing Nightmares Are Made Of, published in October of 2014. The footage begins with a vehicle driving down a dark road at night. After a bit of driving, he comes across a vehicle with its emergency brakes on in the middle of the road. The driver goes around this vehicle, but not much further. He has to slow down again, as there's a man with a baby stroller wandering down the road. He comes closer and closer. For some reason, the driver starts laughing. He puts the car into reverse. I'm not sure if laughing would be my first reaction, or any reaction for that matter. But he keeps backing up slowly as the man with his baby stroller continues to pursue. Then he starts running at them. He's closing in, but the driver starts reversing faster. Finally, he loses the creep, as everyone in the comments section of this video is asking, why? Why is this man pushing a baby stroller? Why down the middle of the road? Why late at night? Some in the comments were also a bit concerned. Savannah Rose wrote, "What if he had a kid in there?" Well, John Garza posted a theory. They are trying to rob you. Seen this in Corpus Christi, Texas. Whether this baby stroller man was trying to rob anyone or not, one thing's for certain, he should get another tactic. This scary video clip captured not just one misty spirit miraculously floating atop the water, but a second emerging from below. Posted to TikTok by Horror Talk, the apparition gracefully glides on the water's surface, only for his brother's head to appear, materializing from the same point in the water. It grows upwards, but we're left to wonder where the pair of spirits wandered off to, and from where they came. Some in the comments think this is a weather balloon, others say it's La Llorona, the weeping woman who roams the waterfront. What do you think it could be? YouTuber Lance Stewart has always had his critics when it comes to his paranormal videos, but in this video, Lance doesn't claim he got possessed, but rather someone else who is just participating. They are doing a Ouija board challenge and actually managed to capture some interesting paranormal moments, most notably at the 8-minute and 42-second mark when the camera picks up an unknown voice saying, "Turn it off."
Is it I love you? Yes!
Is the ghost implying that it does not want to be filmed? Maybe this is a warning they should have heeded, because later in the day, well after they are done with the Ouija board, Lance finds his ex-girlfriend Lizzie acting very strangely. She's lying on the bed with her eyes rolled back, not saying a word. Lance sounds extremely concerned when she says it's just a prank. Do you think she was telling the truth, or did whatever possessed her just want to give Lance a false sense of security? Either way, this video should serve as an example of how you need to exercise massive caution when using a Ouija board. This urban explorer thinks he's in an abandoned building, maybe not. Published by Bulgarian channel Peony Studio in December of 2020. The scary video shows the cameraman standing in a stairwell. He hears something above him that sounds like footsteps. He looks up. After a moment, a hooded figure moves into view, just one floor up, blocking the sunlight from a window above. He stands there and they stare at each other for a moment. Then, terrified, the cameraman takes off running. Who is this figure, and what does it want? As it appears for now, we will never know. This video was taken somewhere deep in the Philippines. To anyone watching from the Philippines, can you please listen to this and tell me if it sounds like any wildlife you have ever heard? It almost sounds more like a machine than a human. Take another listen and tell me if you agree. There's a haunted painting somewhere in this art gallery in Birmingham, UK. The only problem is Ted Whitehall isn't sure which painting it is, so he calls a pastor to hold an exorcism and cleanse every last one of them. Something demonic is determined not to let that happen.
Take it from this place. It has no place here, Lord, and I cast this out in the name, and I bind it in the mighty...
An angry ghost keeps slamming the door. It hates whenever the pastor talks about being cast out and keeps doing its best to interrupt him.
I cast you out and bind you in the name of Jesus. In the name of Jesus. In the name of...
Persistent pastor pushes aside his fear and fires off the final words. You can hear the defeated spirit walk away.
Cast it into the pit, Lord, and bind it forever. In the name of Jesus. In the name of Jesus. In the name of Jesus.
That could just be somebody off camera walking away, so let's turn our attention towards the chair, which Ted says is made of cast iron. Can anybody tell me if this is really made out of cast iron? If so, it should weigh a ton and be virtually impossible to move. To call this paranormal activity would be an understatement. This is one powerful painting. Pete Privy is perfectly piloting a drone in the parking lot, at least until the time comes to land. His friend is demonstrating how to grab one out of midair, but he turns around while talking, and a propeller socks him right in the eye. At 10 seconds in, you can see his friend grab his face and then stumble away in surprise. Someone hurries closely behind, ready to catch him if he passes out from the blow, and the video ends. This picture shows how closely Pete's friend came to losing an eye. I think a hit any higher would have cost him his sight. As Pete says, the moral of the story is that caution is always required around drones, so never let your guard down unless you want to look like this. A YouTuber named Bloodzack12 is investigating a forest that's supposedly haunted. He and his friends don't see anything for a long time until they come across some weird discarded opera mask laying on top of an old dirty clothes pile. A short distance away they find another opera mask hanging up in the trees. They decide to take this one home and study it for clues. They are talking about what to do next when Bloodzack12 notices something hunched over in front of them. Someone dressed in all black looks up at them from the thickets and then gives a short chase. I have a hard time believing this video is real because of the movie-like sound effects and timing, but I guess it is possible. Let me know if you think they were genuinely being chased by some maniac lurking in the woods, or if the third person was just a friend. A man is holding very still with his arm out at an odd angle. That's because he doesn't want to attract the wrath of this dangerous little fellow who somehow slithered into a scary situation. He is helpless as his friend carefully pinches his sleeve to determine where the snake is. He makes a cutting motion with his free hand to tell his friend what to do, not wanting to alert the snake with the vibrations of his voice. Once they carefully cut away the sleeve, you can see the snake is curled around his right bicep and in no hurry to leave. The mouth is right by his arm and it would take less than a second to strike with fangs. They wisely pull open the sleeve with the scissors to distract the snake and get its head away from his arm, but there's not enough room, so they need to cut more. By now, the snake is getting upset, so with no time left, they reach in and scoop him out. I guess they could have done that the whole time, but it was much too risky to be a first option. Take a look at its markings and tell me what kind of snake this is. I'm guessing by the way they handle it with such extreme caution that it has to be venomous. YouTuber named Jason L is rock climbing with his friend Kevin when they come across a narrow and claustrophobic crevice. Not wanting to get left behind, Jason follows Kevin's lead, but his resolve weakens considerably about midway through.
Kinda wishing we didn't come in here, Kevin. What? I'm pretty terrified.
Barely 10 seconds later, Jason takes the worst step of his life.
Oh no.
Here, give me the camera.
My foot's stuck. My foot's stuck. I'm so serious, I can't move.
After some initial panic, he steps out of his shoe and manages to dislodge it. After some effort with both hands, look again and you can see what would have happened if Jason L had tripped and fallen forward. Instead of stepping out of his shoe, it's a sharp drop down a series of spiky rocks that could have easily resulted in shattered bones and an emergency airlift. If you're out paddleboarding, watch your sea legs. Published in April of 2022, YBS Youngbloods writes, "A humbling reminder for myself that it's their ocean and I'm just a visitor. The paddleboarder is at first enamored with a giant sea turtle.
Turtle, big turtle. I'm right in the thick of it. Oh no! Oh!
But soon that excitement turns to panic. A huge shark is seen making his way over and passes below the man's board. When the shark does this, the last place you'd want to be right now is in the water. While many in the comments are panicking, commenter Jethro X has a different perspective. He writes, "For anyone wondering, this is just how we have fun in Australia." This YouTuber works security at a building that's so haunted, he can't even get past to the elevator without scary stuff happening. It's gotten to the point where he records anywhere he goes because the place is seriously that haunted by paranormal poltergeist activity everywhere. The building has a nice gym room, for example, but it seems the equipment is always in use one way or another. Weird things are always caught on camera moving around on their own when he's out of arm's length.
Para darles una sorpresa a ver cuando vengan, que no saben que estoy aquí. ¡Hostias!
But it is perhaps this haunted playroom area that sees the most paranormal activity of all. So that's a lot of freaky stuff to have happened, but he's been making videos for years, and I've saved the absolute scariest video for last. You're not going to believe this one because it's that beyond creepy. He lives alone and hears the voices of a family coming from his room. When he calls into the darkness, he is answered by the shadow person sighting. The dark outline of a shadow moving in the small amounts of light coming through a crack in the door.
Hostia, la luz.
There's no doubt that somebody was in there with him, but was it planned, or was it a real ghost sighting caught on video? I think when you look at all of the paranormal video evidence caught on tape, you'll conclude that this place is really haunted. He could be faking it, but I don't really see how. Also, with barely any views on his videos, I don't see why he would continue for years on end, unless it was really happening to him. Afnan Arash is plagued by paranormal activity wherever he goes, and now not even his home offers respite from the constant hauntings. Even though we don't speak the same language, I can still feel the anger and desperation in his voice as he demands for the ghost to leave him be.
Tak habis, mengganggu hidup aku. Hah? Mana?
Afnan stares in disbelief at the table of broken plates. It's hard to tell if he threw a rock or something to break the plates himself or if a poltergeist did it. The right half of the table is not on camera, which makes me suspicious because that's also probably his throwing arm. However, he sounds so genuinely terrified that I think this video is paranormal. We may have just discovered the soundtrack to your nightmares. Published to YouTube by Column A in June of 2019. This clip shows a young man in a prison cell, no context given. He speaks to the camera and, in the midst of his monologue, he gives a strange, otherworldly shriek like a velociraptor. Why? Well, YouTubers have a wealth of hypotheses. For example, Lord Woody thinks that the man is sucking the soul out of the cameraman. I just know if I were in this situation, I'd be getting the heck out of there. We've all done it, almost choked on something while distracted. But what should you do if you find yourself in this position while you're alone? This CCTV footage shows how a guy almost passed away while prepping a restaurant to open. The guy is doing his rounds, wiping down tables and getting everything in order, when suddenly he slows down, hitting his chest a couple times. It's clear something is going wrong, but he doesn't seem too concerned yet. He attempts to continue with his tasks for a moment, but then realizes this is serious. Walking to the middle of the floor, he bends to touch his knees and appears to be trying to stay calm. As he continues to pound his chest and bend over, trying to eject the piece of gum that's lodged in his throat, he starts to panic. He cannot breathe. He attempts to shout for help, but nothing comes out. While panicking more and more and getting increasingly unsteady from lack of air, he attempts to give himself the Heimlich with his hands. Still nothing. He then positions a chair to give him the Heimlich, bending over it and trying to fall the right way. Having already gone a couple minutes without breathing, he does this a few times. No luck. It's starting to look like a lost cause, but at the last second, the gum ejects from his throat. He is able to stand up again and looks incredibly relieved, as he should. He nearly passed away from a piece of gum. A YouTuber named This Is Dan Bell has made a name for himself by exploring some of the creepiest abandoned places on Earth. This time he is seeing what he can find at an abandoned house outside of Baltimore City, the former home of the notorious Stephen Craig Johnson to be exact. In 1983, Stephen Craig Johnson brutally ended the life of his child in a fit of delusional rage. The case grew famous all up and down the entire East Coast, and it doesn't look like anyone has lived in the house ever since. As Dan Bell travels deeper inside, you can feel the sadness and despair clinging to every room. Amidst the discarded debris and wreckage, Dan Bell finds a weird handwritten letter in the closet with illustrations of a woman on the front and back. There's a brief paragraph talking about how evil the house is and what can be done to stop it. Some of the handwriting is kind of hard to read, so if anyone wants to type this letter out, I would appreciate it. Two things seem kind of sketchy about this letter to me though. First of all, the ink does not look faded enough to be something from the 80s, and the paper does not seem very aged either. I don't think it was penned by anyone in the Johnson family, so maybe someone else snuck inside and placed it here in recent years. Dan Bell is understandably nervous at this point, but he has come this far and there's still an entire second floor left to explore. He eventually finds himself in a stale attic covered with scattered documents and heaps of trash. He's just about to leave when he makes eye contact with something that has been watching him all along. A vulture, the devourer of fallen animals, silently regards him from the floor. Its gaze is calm and expectant, almost prideful in a way. If this really is a wild animal and not staged, then it is almost certainly a bad omen for sure. Steve Ronan knows firsthand how scary Randonautica can be, and says the Randonautica app is not to be taken lightly based on his experiences. He and Josh tell Randonautica that they want to manifest something dark and twisted in their exact words and let the app tell them where to explore. Through the woods is where they are told to go. A mysterious light in the woods leads them to a pentagram painted on a tree, a symbol that's as dark and twisted as it gets, and it's only the beginning. Randonautica takes them to an abandoned house, and the same unexplained light is right there with them. It remains the same size no matter how close they get. The light takes them to the backyard where it goes behind an object at 16 minutes and 50 seconds, so it's not coming from their equipment at all. Also, while they are exploring the area, this ghostly figure appears in the screen window. Tell me if you see it. It looks kind of like a face with two hands. While exploring the abandoned house, they see the face of another ghost in the hallway. At 21 minutes and 29 seconds, it's in front of the railing and looking down. That's when they hear the scariest sounds of all.
We were using an app called Randonautica.
Police calling for them to come out and explain themselves. The power goes out and a man must go into the basement to find the circuit breaker. There's only one problem.
This is where I heard the booming at night.
Once he gets downstairs, his beam is swallowed in the darkness, and while fumbling around, he barely catches a glimpse of a pale face down there with him. And by the time he gets the flashlight to work again, it's already too late. Whatever this is a face of, ghost or otherwise, I doubt it's a mask because at 50 seconds you can see its mouth open and its smile fade away as it lunges forward. It doesn't grab him and he is able to get away, so if this is real, then it could be one of the highest resolution ghost sightings ever caught on camera to date. A mother is mourning the loss of her child when a single white balloon floats over to her from his casket. Relief washes over her as she soon realizes this is almost definitely a sign of reassurance from her lost loved one. Look again and you'll see not only did this balloon start from her child's casket, it was also in front of a picture of him as well. It really is as if he is sending her a balloon to cheer her up and let her know that he still cares for her from the other side, perhaps even as a final gesture to help her let go. This graveyard in Michigan defies the laws of gravity and replaces them with the laws of the paranormal. There is a specific tree at the bottom of a hill that many locals believe is haunted. You can put your car into neutral at the top of the hill and the car will roll down as normal. Here's a quick demonstration.
And now, as you can see, with my foot off the pedal and the car in neutral, we're rolling downhill. That is what you would expect.
But when you pull up to the cursed tree and put your car in neutral, this is what will happen each and every time.
We're rolling backwards up the hill. My feet are off the pedal. Car is still in neutral.
A strange force appears to be causing this man's car to roll backwards and climb a semi-steep inclination. Not only that, but I think I hear a strange voice in the video too. Listen to this and tell me if you hear someone say something that sounds like the name Sarah. Nothing like heading out to the old barn in the middle of the night. Posted to the Chills Narrator subreddit by the Comics Man, and originally posted to YouTube in April of 2020 by the channel Me and Some Dudes. Comics Man writes, thought I saw something at 1 minute 19 seconds. Don't know. Let's take a look and find out. The guy filming sets out to show us his barn at night. He notes that there's a shed full of roosters to the side, and sometimes they go berserk. He says when they do, and he goes to check on them, the door is always open. His theory is that there are bunnies or raccoons living beneath the barn, but how would they open the door? Eugene Krabs in the YouTube comments points out at around 1 minute 18 seconds that something appears to duck down behind the gray thing in the barn. Do you see it? We can only hope it's a raccoon and not something creepier. Levitation, animal skulls, fire. This one has everything. These paranormal investigators have met their match. While looking around a ritualistic site, they come across this pentagram drawn on the wall. Nearby, rocks and candles are arranged. Alongside what looks like a black chopped off ponytail, there's a burnt animal skull posted up at the center of the pentagram. Later, the light from their camera shuts off. When it turns back on, a body has risen in the air and hangs there limply. It's one of their crew members, and a moment later, he is found collapsed on the floor and unconscious. They check his pulse and manage to shake him awake. He stumbles up, clearly rattled. Not long after, a fire starts on the ground in the room. They don't know how it started. Is there some evil entity haunting these hallowed grounds, brought to life by the rituals done here? Only Satan can answer that. When a Shadow Welcomes You, Run and Hide, published by Polish Paranormal TV in October of 2021. This scary video explores a haunted place in Poland. Upon entering, the team uses a spirit box as they head up the stairs. Right away, the spirit starts speaking. According to a translation, the spirit says either "I'm here" or "welcome here." But how welcome are they? Later, while walking down a hallway, a shadowy figure is spotted leaning against the door frame. You can see it more clearly in slow motion. Do you see it? If you do, this figure will haunt your eyes for eternity. Don't you hate it when you're alone in your haunted house and the ghost girl comes out to play. Published in March of 2018, YouTuber Gencor shares this video of what he claims is the Ortega ghost girl. The man taking the video greets viewers, showing them around his living room. He then gives us a tour of his home. At one point, a stand-up fan in one of the rooms falls over, apparently of its own accord. You'll find out later that this is the haunted room. He leaves, lights an incense stick, and after a while returns to the scene of the incident. A toy moves out from under the bed as the man speaks to the spirit, saying they told him she wanted to talk to him and that he's going to close the door. You hear a sing-song voice, that of a little girl.
Dios santo. Dios, dijo hola.
When he shuts the door again, a loud banging is repeatedly heard.
Tengo miedo, la verdad, tratando lo suficiente.
He opens it to find a basket in front of the door, not where it was last seen. Needless to say, he hightails it out of there. If you have no idea what's going on here, Aries Bautista has you covered in the comments. She writes, the girl played 3 times hard. He should not have opened. It is assumed that by touching 3 times, he opened a portal that the demons used to enter. Well then I guess he should have kept that portal closed. A YouTuber named LaxRebel225 is playing a video game at home when he hears something loudly bust through the front door. He's frantically looking from room to room when finally he hears it making a racket again, this time from the kitchen. When he crosses into the kitchen, nothing is to be found. Instead, he hears it again from behind. I'm not sure why he stomps his foot here. If he's trying to scare the creature away, it doesn't work. LaxRebel does a full circle around his home and ends up standing just outside of the kitchen again. He seems to get a bad feeling and hesitates. That's when this inhuman noise fills his house. The creature seems to say something in a chittering language that almost sounds like an evil laugh. Then it leaves his home, shutting the door behind itself. Maybe I'm just overthinking, but the alien's voice sounds very high quality, like way too good for the average YouTuber to edit into their video with home equipment. As much as I don't want to admit it, I think this video could be real based on the creepy laughter alone. Still, I'd definitely like to know what you think after watching this video. I'm especially looking for the opinions of people who have experience with audio engineering. According to YouTuber Gankwapi, this abandoned house has a horrific history. It's near the end of their investigation that they encounter this spirit. If you look a little closer, you can see a figure lurking in the darkness. Look to the right. Is that the old man's spirit, stranded to haunt this evil house for eternity? I suspect it just might be, although I could also see it being the Life Taker's demon, jailed forever in this purgatory on Earth. Thank you so much for getting me to 30,000 subscribers here on my Clips channel. If you want to support, please press that subscribe button. Let's get to 40,000 subscribers next. Thank you.